Story time about how I found out my husband gave me HIV while I was pregnant. So, me and my husband were high school sweethearts. He was very kind, very in tune about my feelings, and we were like best friends. We never really did anything sexual because he didn't want our relationship to be like that. We were together for 6 years, waited until marriage to lose our virginity to one another. The year before getting married, I noticed he would stare at guys a lot, but I would never really think anything about it because at least he was not looking at girls. Fast forward, we get married, and 2 years later, I get pregnant, and we were both excited. When I get to the doctors, I get my yearly test done for STDs, of course, but as always, I'm clean. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, I get a call from the doctor saying I tested positive for HIV. Let me know if you guys want a part 2. Part 2 of how I found out my husband gave me HIV while I was pregnant. Like I said earlier, 2 weeks later, I get a call from the doctor saying I tested positive for HIV. I was shaking and crying, and I was so in shock. And the only thing I ever heard about HIV at the time was that I only had a couple months to live. I couldn't believe the only man that I've ever been with gave me this disease. I thought I was doing everything right, the right way, and still ended up being in a hole. I was so nervous to confront my husband because I didn't think it was like him to cheat on me, and I thought maybe he thought I was cheating. So the next day I pretended everything was fine. I lied to him and told him that my phone died and that I needed his to call my mother. He gave me his phone. I went into the bathroom and immediately I start snooping. As I'm going through his phone, I didn't see any text from girls, so I'm like, maybe the doctor got the wrong test. I'm running out of time. Come back for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out my husband gave me HIV while I was pregnant. So, like I said, I went to his phone and I didn't see any text from other girls. So, I'm thinking maybe the doctor called the wrong person. Anyways, I gave up on looking through his phone and I just talked to him. I sat him down and told him that I had HIV and that I haven't cheated on him ever. He looked at me and cried. He broke down in tears and apologized. I got so upset with him because I realized that he did cheat on me, and I was really upset for our unborn child. So I took all of his clothes, I took his things, and I threw them all out. Right before I kicked him out, I yelled at him saying, "Who was the girl that gave it to you?" And he told me it wasn't a girl. It was his friend David. Story time about how I snuck out of the house and got caught by my crazy psycho mother. Warning you guys, but here we go. At the time, I was 19, and I just got done with my first year at a university. And while I was at school, I met this cute boy, which we're going to call Kendrick. And that whole year, we were talking. So, summertime rolls around, and I go back to live with my parents. And when it came to my parents, they were very strict about me talking to boys, especially my mom. And I know I was 19, but my mom did not allow me to go out if she didn't know where I was at. So, this one day, Kendrick is like, "Oh, we should go out one night." And I went and told my mom that I was going to the mall with my friends. But as the time got later, it was like too late. And my mom started blowing up my phone. And usually when she does that, I'm in big trouble. So I just decided not to pick up because I know I'm going to get in trouble anyway. So I might as well stay out and have fun with whatever time I had. But that was the biggest mistake. Y'all come back for part 2 because it gets bad. Really bad. Part 2 of how I got caught sneaking out of the house by my crazy psycho mother. So like I said earlier, I was out and she was blowing my phone up and I was not answering. Because I knew I was going to get in trouble anyway, so I might as well just have fun. Well, as the night was getting later, I had to go home. And when my boyfriend Kendrick dropped me off, there was a whole bunch of cars outside of my house, and police cars. When I walked into my house, I saw all of my family, uncle, aunts, cousins, police. It was a whole bunch of people in there. I had my uncles and aunt walking up to me asking what happened to me. Said they called the police because they thought I got kidnapped. At one point, I was going to lie and said I got kidnapped because I didn't want to get in trouble. But I just told everybody I was out with a friend. But when my mom saw me, it was over. It was over. I should have just went ahead and buried my grave then and there. Because I got my ass whooped in front of everybody and the cops. This story time is from a follower, and she really needs advice. By the way, we're going to call her Jackie. So Jackie has been with her boyfriend Aaron for 6 years. She always thought that they were going to get married until he cheated on her with her sister. Now, it's been 2 years and she got over the situation. And then she got an invitation in the mail from her sister for a wedding. She was of course happy to know her sister was about to get married. When she read the name of the groom, it was her ex, Aaron. She was so upset about it, but the rest of her family says it's not that serious. She's debating on going to her own sister's wedding and don't know if she should say something. Comment down below and give this girl some advice. Story time on why my dad would never allow me and my sister inside of his basement. So growing up, my parents split and my sister and I would stay with my mom. During the summer, we'd go see our father. My dad was a mortician and he owned a funeral home. When he would do his work, he'd go to his basement and tell us to never go inside of it. At night, he liked his basement. I always assumed that he didn't want us going down there in fear of us seeing dead bodies. One night, me and my sister was up. We couldn't sleep, so we started playing Truth or Dare. And my little sister dared me to go inside the basement. I didn't want to be a punk, so I did the dare, and I found the key to go to the basement. Before I get down there, I of course expected to see bodies, but when I was walking around, I didn't see any. But what was crazy was that it sounded like there were little girls crying. If you want to know what I saw, come back for part 2. This is part 2 of why my dad would never allow me and my sister inside of his basement. So like I said, I went downstairs to the basement and I didn't see any bodies. Instead, I heard whimpering and crying. So I went back upstairs and told my sister that there was nothing down there. She said that she wanted to see, so she came to the basement with me. When we were both walking around, she said that she heard the whimpering too. My sister had saw a door and it sounded like the noise was coming from behind the door. When we opened it, we saw girls chained up. Story time on how my own best friend set me up. Trigger warning, sexual assault. So when I was 13, 14 in the 8th grade, I met this girl, which we're going to call Aubrey. Throughout that year, we became really close friends. And we even went to each other's houses just about every day. And at that time, I was a virgin. I was very insecure and I didn't know my worth. And definitely attracted to the wrong boys. And that's how me and Aubrey related. We bonded over trauma, which can be toxic. But anyways, one day we met these boys. At that time, I didn't know who these boys were. And Aubrey pretended not to know them either, but I had no idea. They had to be like 17, 18, but I actually really don't know because they probably lied about their age anyway. So we started hanging around these boys, which we're going to call Stick and George. And at that time, I really liked George. Throughout our weeks of hanging out, they asked if I ever smoked Mary Jane. And I said no, because I've never smoked. Push come to shove, I get peer pressured into doing it. And I think it was laced. Come back for part 2. This is part 2 of how my own best friend set me up. Trigger warning, sexual assault. So like I said earlier, I got peer pressured into smoking Mary Jane. And I think it was laced. Throughout that time of being intoxicated, I didn't know what was really going on. And remember the guy I told you guys about, George? Well, he had his way with me and my friend. Aubrey knew about it but didn't say anything. I didn't realize the severity of the situation and definitely didn't agree to anything that happened. As time went on, I started to gain my memory back on what was actually going on and started to understand, and I decided to tell my family. But nothing happened. It was almost like the person who did it to me got a slap on the wrist for what he did. This is why you should never have 2 best friends, but instead 1 friend. Be careful of being the third wheel. When I was in high school, I had 2 best friends, Naomi and Cassandra. One Saturday night, we went to a party. When we went back home, we didn't have rides back home. Also, by the way, when we were in the party, Cassandra met this guy. When we stood outside the party looking for a way to get home, the guy Cassandra had talked to earlier had pulled up in his car. And he asked her if she needed a ride. She of course asked if he could take me and Naomi home. He said yes, but he only had room for 1 more person and he told her to choose. And she chose Naomi. And in that moment, I really realized who were really the best friends. I asked him to please not leave me there alone, so Cassandra asked the guy if he could come back for me and pick me up. And being the good guy that he was, he said yes. But when they left, he never came back for me. The 3 best friend trio. Last year, I went on a girls' trip with my friends. It was fun, but towards the end, we had to pack up and leave. So while all the girls were packing up, me and one of my other friends went downstairs to the front desk to give the key card. When we went down there, the lobby was packed with a bunch of girls, and I'm guessing it was for a ladies' retreat. So the line was extremely long, and there was this really pretty lady that skipped the whole line, but no one noticed. So I assumed that she skipped because she was with the other girls in the retreat. She got her key card and got her room. Fast forward, after we give up our key cards to the front desk, we went back to our rooms to pack. 15 minutes later, we get a loud knock on the door, and it's the police. I opened the door, and he asked me and my friends, have we seen this girl anywhere? And it was a girl with a popsicle stick, and immediately I said no. One of my roommates said, oh, she's really pretty. And then I said, wait a minute, that was the same girl that had skipped the line. The police told us to stay in our room until further notice because that same girl went to her husband's hotel. She cut off his pee-pee, then pushed his mistress over the balcony. And now she's running through the hotel.
Bring me to your battleship. I wanna tap tap. Bring me to the waves. Let's get high.